What is up? I am so excited to be here and to do this live. It has been a little bit since I've done a live, but stoked to be here again. So there's a few things I want to share with y'all. One is mindset, really. I think so often people think about let me back up. Before we get into mindset, if you're not familiar with who I am and what I'm about, my name is Sam Kabert, and my story is chasing success, pursuing success, whatever words you want to use, and achieving that success that I was really chasing, and being more depressed after reaching my goals. And I don't say this to brag, but those goals specifically were one, to build a seven-figure business, and the second, to be named to Silicon Valley's 40 under 40 list. Now, I thought both of those things would get me to this place of feeling whole and feeling fulfilled and feeling worthy more than anything else. And it actually led me to a deeper numbing depression. And that's back in 2019. And that's when I got into spirituality, mindfulness, and all the things. And in the past 6 years now, I've been a big proponent, not just of plant and earth medicines, because that's been a big part of my journey, but also spirituality, and more than anything, talking about mental health. And here's one of the things that I think is so misunderstood about mental health. It's not just mental health, it's mental and emotional health. And this is what I mean by it. So often, like, think of the movie or the documentary, it was also a book called The Secret. The Secret tells you the secret so that you can achieve the life that you want to achieve, right? And even that statement right there, like, it's focused on the end destination. But to me, the real secret is realizing that you're never going to land at this end destination. Like, life is a journey, and we want to be in the journey versus focused on the end destination. How we do that? A bunch of different ways. For me, what's one of the most impactful tools for that is this yogic philosophy of sadhana. And sadhana teaches you to be in pursuit of the journey by prioritizing your daily habits and behaviors. So, coming back to how I started this about mindset, like, mindset's only going to get you so far. Like, tying it back to the film or the documentary, The Secret, one of the things that people don't really understand from those lessons are when you are manifesting your dream life, it's not just about the mental rehearsal, meaning the visualization part of it. It's about feeling, which is why I'm so passionate to teach people how to reconnect with their nervous system, to how to associate back into their bodies, because so often many of us are disassociated. We don't know what we're thinking, we don't know what we're feeling, and more than anything else, we're thinking about clearing our mind. And in my upcoming 3-day challenge, which is called Reframe Your Mind, Clear Your Mind, it's named this because I'm actually going to be talking about so much more than just clearing mental thoughts. I mean, if you can start by just reframing the way you view your mental health to include your emotional health as well, it's going to help you to land into your body. But first, we do have to do some mindset work. So, with that, I want to provide just a little glimpse into what you're going to get by joining the 3-day challenge. Now, this is going to be in our 3-day challenge, which begins on March 10th. But for right now, I'm going to give this to you guys just so you get an idea of what's going to be there. And that is the 8 instant mind shifts that will change everything. Y'all, like, when I really learned these things, it has changed my life so much. And it's an ongoing thing. Like, I'm not perfect. That I get off track. And I think one of the biggest things to know is, like, we're not chasing perfection. All we're trying to do is to build awareness. Like, the name of the game for anyone that's into personal development, or even call it soul or spiritual development, is about coming to moment awareness. And if you don't believe me, think about all the different things that you do in your life, from scrolling on your phone. You know, I'm talking about that doom scroll, or watching TV, or engaging with sports, or drinking alcohol, or even food. A lot of these things that we engage with, we don't do it from a place of survival. We do it from a place of wanting to feel connection, wanting to feel connected to something. And that is what moment to moment awareness is about. It's about not using these outside things to bring them into us, whether it's through our eyes with a doom scroll, or watching TV, or putting food in our body, or whatever it might be. It's about harnessing that on our own so that we can get to this place within that feels good. So, with that, here's the very first mindset shift that is going to change everything for you. I mean, it did for me, and I trust it will for you as well. It's this philosophy of practice makes practice. Now, I talked about this in my TED talk, and sometimes when I speak on stage, I'll share this as well. But years ago, I think it was 2020, so it was in the pandemic. I live out here at the beach in Santa Cruz, California, and there's a lot of beach yoga. And back then, with the lockdowns, there wasn't really an opportunity to go into the studio to practice yoga. You remember what the lockdowns were like. You're a smart person, right? So we had beach yoga, so I would go to beach yoga a lot. And I remember being in Warrior 2. And if you're not a yogi, Warrior 2 is where you put your arms out, kind of like you're surfing. And I was in the sand doing Warrior 2, looking out in the ocean, and I heard the instructor say, practice makes practice. You know, a lot of times in yoga classes, there's these little one liner wisdom things that will come through, and they're great opportunities for reframes. Well, in that moment, when the instructor said practice makes practice, I almost fell out of doing Warrior 2. Imagine this. I was there in the sand doing Warrior 2, you know, like that position where it looks like you're surfing, right? I was doing that. Instructor says practice makes practice. I looked up and I was like, practice makes practice? What are you talking about? Practice makes perfect. Reminds me of Allen Iverson. And, you talking about practice? I digress. Anyways, so what does practice makes practice actually mean? You know, in that moment after I had that first initial thought of like, what are you talking about? I got curious. And I think more than anything, this journey of getting to know ourselves is about curiosity. So as I got curious, I was like, what what is practice makes practice? Have I been conditioned so much to focus on perfection? And have I been programmed so much to focus on an end destination? Like, practice makes practice. That is profound. Like, that actually makes a lot of sense. So the way I have internalized this philosophy of practice makes practice, it's kind of like the symbol of infinity, right? This symbol of infinity, imagine a figure eight flipped on its side. Well, now it's flipped on its side. We have the infinity. You can see the highs and you can see the lows, right? And one of the most beautiful things about the symbol of the infinity is it always comes back to meet itself exactly where it's at. And that has helped me so much in my journey, because when I've experienced those lows, I've thought about this philosophy of practice makes practice. I've thought and visualized the infinity and been like, you know what? I know I'm experiencing this low now, but that only means I'm going to be catapulted to the next high, right? And I don't mean high like we're chasing highs. I mean like a next level, a next evolution of myself. Because the way I view this is it's almost like an infinity that's like a staircase, like a staircase to heaven, like Led Zeppelin, right? It's ascending, it's getting bigger. So each time you have that low, now that low isn't as low, and those highs are becoming higher, and there is no end destination. It's about being in the journey. So practice makes practice is all of this. And to summarize it, one simple way to think about it is what I mentioned earlier, the yogic philosophy of sadhana, which means to be in pursuit of. We're not focused on end destination. And I'll hammer this home with one more big takeaway. I actually became a yoga instructor back in 2021, and I was in Costa Rica, and our yoga teacher trainers were teaching us this philosophy of sadhana. And they said To name your ultimate potential is to limit your ultimate potential. Now, I'll say that again. To name your ultimate potential is to limit your ultimate potential. Literally, when I heard that, my mind was blown because I had named my ultimate potential and I was focused on that end destination. So, wrapping this all up in a bow, the number one, the first step in this first tip in the 8 mindset shifts is practice makes practice. Number two, things are happening with you. Now stay with me here. Stay with me here. You've probably I'd be surprised if you haven't heard that things don't happen to you, they happen for you. You've probably heard that. And that reframe, when I first heard that, was profound and it was so helpful because it helped me to move beyond victim consciousness, beyond victim mindset, beyond looking at the world as a glass half empty and there's this external force out there to get me. It has been so instrumental for myself and many others to reframe things don't happen to you, they happen for you. But here's the real caveat, and actually, I should say this is the real secret. Most people don't know this. Things don't just happen for you, they happen with you. And stay with me here. If you think that things happen to you, it's essentially saying, hey, there's this outside force out there somewhere, and it's out to get me, right? So you reframe that saying things happen for me. And that's like saying, hey, there's this outside force and it's out to make sure that things go well in my life. Well, the real secret here is things happen with you. You have to take action. You have to be a co-creator of your reality. And or do you know how empowering it is to make the shift from happening for you to happening with you? You're no longer like, hey, there's this outside force and it's just making sure that things go well in my life. It's like, no, things are happening with me. So if I am expecting to meet the love of my life, if I'm expecting to grow my business, if I'm expecting to uh, increase my strength or feel better mentally and emotionally, I can't just sit down and be like, oh, I'm putting the intention out there. It's all good. There's this outside force that is making sure that things happen for me. No, it happens with you. You need to take action. Once you realize that you are co-creator of your reality, then everything you've been learning about affirmations, manifestations, Napoleon Hill's work and Neville Goddard's work and all these things, they start to click for you because you're no longer saying there's this outside force that's getting it done for me. Now you're stepping into your sovereignty and owning it. And that is just so empowering. So, number two, things happen with you. Go beyond things happening for you and into things happening with you. Number three, the third instant mind shift that will change everything for you. This one is what I like to call the of course mentality. Now, I've been very outspoken about my spiritual journey and how much I love talking all things woo. And I think I know that the more we are in alignment, meaning we are embodying our beliefs and values, the universe mirrors back to us in forms of synchronicities, which is a term that was coined by Carl Jung. And synchronicities can be thought of as mini miracles. They can be thought of as what many people might refer to as serendipitous moments. And when you're new on your path, when you experience these like mini miracles that are synchronicities, a lot of people say, that's crazy. And what is the energy of saying that's crazy for something that's a miracle? It's saying, I don't know about that. Like, that's too big. I can't believe that. I'm not really embracing that. And it's a resistance, it's pushing it away. Most people love synchronicities. If you're like me and you love synchronicities because it's that confirmation and know that you're on the right track, to say that's crazy is in resistance, which is going to deter it and push more of those away. Now, the reframe of that's crazy when experiencing synchronicities for me for years was that's wild, because I was so triggered when I'd hear people say that's crazy. I'm like, no, it's not crazy. That's what we're aiming for. Like, if anything, instead of saying crazy, let's say that's wild. And I had a buddy reframe me almost 2 years ago. And he said, "Hey, how about instead of saying that's wild, what about saying, of course?" I was like, "Ooh, I like that." So if this is a new concept from you, make the jump from crazy straight to of course. Bypass wild. And when you experience these mini miracles, say of course, because just like things happening with you is empowering, so is this. It's saying, hey, this is my new reality. Of course I'm experiencing this abundance. Of course I'm experiencing these synchronicities confirming that I'm on the right path. These God winks, if you will. Say, of course. So that is your third instant mind shift. The fourth is a game time mentality. Now, this one's very close to my heart. Back in January of 2023, I launched a group program, a psychedelic group a psychedelic integration program for a group. And it was called Structured Flow. And what I didn't know at the time, because I was riding high, life was so good. I was at an amazing place for about a couple, maybe few years at that point. I didn't know that in the next few months, my life would totally implode. And 2023 shaped out to be the most challenging year of my life. And what I found was that I needed to adopt what I call a game time mentality. And it looked like this. For many of us, when we're in this dark night of the soul or this experience of feeling denseness of reality, or maybe a seasonal depression or depressive type symptoms, processing grief, whatever it might be, it's so easy to get stuck in that lower vibration and in that pity party. And I believe that we do need to feel our feelings. Absolutely. I think that's how we need to move through it. But feeling our feelings doesn't mean drowning in self loathing and drowning in pity and drowning in sorrow. It means processing it. It means to do your shadow work, which, side note, if you're doing the work at all, that is doing shadow work. Shadow work is another term coined by Carl Jung. And the shadow is basically making whatever is unconscious, making it, bringing it to conscious awareness. So when we are drowning into the depths of our psyche and going into those hard places, when I adopted a game time mentality, that really meant that, hey, if I'm learning about doing the work and working on myself, doing shadow work, and I'm facilitating that for others, then when my stuff comes up for me, I'm going to look at this as if this is the big game. This is my Super Bowl. This is my championship. This is the playoffs time. This is the time to gear up and go, because what is the point of learning about all of this stuff if I'm not actually going to apply it? So your fourth mindset shift that is going to change everything in your life is to adopt a game time mentality. When things get hard, when things get challenging, when your back is pushed against the wall, can you find that game time mentality? Going into the next one, this is the way out is within. Now, you've likely heard that the way out is through. When it comes to soul development, when it comes to personal development, this is a different energy than personal development. This is about going within. Now, for years, when I was earlier on my path of like spirituality and soul development, I heard the way out is through. And it never really fully landed with me. And I didn't know why until a buddy wrote in his book. Shout out to Nathan Kohlerman. He wrote in his book, The Way Out is Within. And it was like this light bulb moment went off for me. It was like, that's it. Because this energy of the way out is through is a pushing, it's a doing energy, it's an outer world, it's a yang energy. But when it comes to our mental, emotional health and our spirituality and getting in touch with the beingness, we can only do that by going within. So this perfectly lands with the previous point of a game time mentality. We need to have the tools to feel safe enough to go into our inner landscape, to really kick up the dirt and see what's there and where we need to process some things that are coming to the surface. So, your fifth mindset shift that will change everything is realizing that the way out isn't through, the way out is within. Next one is the change game. Now, I work with a lot of people to reprogram their subconscious mind. Know that we have over 60,000 thoughts a day. 80% of those thoughts are from the day before, and 90% of those thoughts are negative, which means we're living on a perpetual feedback loop of negativity from the day before. If we want to reprogram our subconscious mind to work for us, then we need to find tools. We need to find ways that work for us to bring about moment to moment awareness. And as we do that, throughout our day, we'll start to notice negative thoughts when they creep in. And I initially thought of this like that game Whack a Mole. It was like, at, I was going to say Dave and Buster's, but when I was a kid, I don't think Dave and Buster's was even around. An arcade game, you go to the arcade like at a boardwalk, whatever it might be, and the moles come up and you bang it, whack a mole, right? And I kind of thought initially of meditation like that, or just getting to know your thoughts, like, oh, there's another intrusive thought, like bang, which isn't the best way to think about it. I actually like the change game more, which is something that Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches. And the change game is like, oh, hey, there's an intrusive thought that came through. Let me say change right now. I have clients that prefer using the word cancel, whatever word, it doesn't really matter. How Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches this, though, is when you have the intrusive thought, say change, and that's going to signal to your brain that is not who I am anymore. And that is going to fire and wire new neural pathways to connect together. And in layman's terms, that basically means like it's deleting that old piece of programming to create a newer version of yourself that is empowering. So that your sixth mindset shift, when you're working on positive affirmations, when you're working on being in touch with your mental and emotional state, when you have those intrusive thoughts, you utilize the change game. Number seven, this one is hang out with people with a common future, not a common past. This journey is lonely, straight up. That's a belief, but it's also kind of true. If you are hanging on to your past friends and your past network who don't understand where your trajectory of your life is going, then it's gonna be really sticky and challenging for yourself. So instead of just staying with those old people that aren't really matching your frequency of who you are becoming, hang out with people with a common future, not a common past. This is about honoring those people that have been in your life, and we're not throwing them to the wayside, but we're starting to understand, and it helps us to reframe our relationships as we move forward in life. I will tell you guys, when I went down the spiritual path, I felt disowned by my best friends because they didn't understand the path I was going on. And it felt so lonely. And when I heard this quote, hang out with people with a common future, not a common past, by James Whitaker, it was like a mantra that I needed every day to be like, yes, that is so true. So if you want a mindset shift and an affirmation that can help you as you are progressing into spiritual development, check out this mantra, or not check out, let this mantra land for you. Hang out with people with a common future, not a common past. And the final, this is the eighth mindset shift. Your frequency is what you frequently see. I don't even remember where I heard this from, but it is so good. If I am frequently hearing and seeing and experiencing negativity through the news, through my social media feed, through my email inbox, through little conversations that I hear throughout my day, whether I'm in a surf lineup or a checkout stand, I'm just hearing negativity. That's a mirror for me to be like, why am I exposed to so much negativity? My frequency is clearly lower and I need to raise it. And I love this so much. Your frequency is what you frequently see, because it's a direct mirror. It's a direct instant feedback of how you're doing. And if you're not liking the world that you're experiencing, then hey, it might be time to do some inner work. So with that, This is just a sample of what you're going to experience in the Reframe Your Mind, Clear Your Mind 3-day challenge starting on March 10th. Y'all, I am so stoked for this challenge. Right now, it's last day of February. So that means this challenge starts in about 10 days, give or take. And I mean, I'm ready to dive into this challenge right now because I'm so excited. But having said that, go ahead and sign up. It's only $22. That's a few cups of coffee or, a bad meal at the airport. Or if you live in California, that's like a breakfast burrito. So you can afford this. It's 22 bucks. This is going to change so much in your life. And we're going to dive so much deeper than just mindset. I'm going to teach you how to regulate your nervous system through breath work. I'm going to lead you through breath work sessions. You're also going to get an online community that's going through this challenge along with you as well. So I will see you guys at the challenge. You can sign up at my website, samcaber.com/mind. See you there.